Good morning, my dear students. We are discussing chapter 9 at Dot Boys Hall. We will see the rest of the chapter today. We already discussed from the first four paragraphs of page number 81. The rest of the paragraphs we will see now. Mr. Squeeze were explaining to Nicholas that Mrs. Squeeze was like a mother to all the children of that Dead Boys Hall. Then, by seeing the behavior of Mrs. Squeeze, Nicholas said that I should think not, sir. And he was following Squeeze across a yard to the schoolroom. There, said the schoolmaster, as they stepped into a bare and dirty room. This is our shop. They were walking to the schoolroom, and it was very bare and dirty. Nicholas looked around with dismay at the windows stopped up with old copybooks and papers, the old shaky desk, and the discolored walls. When Nicholas saw that room, he was highly disappointed. The windows of that schoolroom was stopped up with old copies and papers. We already know that it was a very cold place. That is the reason why our Nicholas did not get a bucket of water to wash and fresh himself. In such a place, there is no windows for that schoolroom. Instead of windows, they kept their old copybooks and papers, and they tried to stop that old and killing wind. The desk and other furniture were not steady, it was all shaking. The walls were not painted. That schoolroom was a bare and dirty room. This sight disappointed our Nicholas. But it was looking at the pupils, dressed in odd, ill-fitted clothes, that his hopes about the establishment dimmed. Which means he became more disappointed by looking into the people, the children, those who were living there. They were not dressed in a proper way. Their dresses were not fitting for them. Those dresses were with full of tears, additional pieces, and not washed. That took out all the hope about that Dot Boys Hall from the heart of Nicholas. They were pale and haggard faces, boys of stunned growth, and others whose thin legs would hardly bear their stopping bodies. This is the description about how Nicholas saw those boys. Their faces were pale and tired looking. The boys of stunned growth means their growth is almost stopped. They are not grown enough according to their age. And there were some other students whose thin legs were hardly bear the weight of their bodies. They were faces that told young lives which from childhood had borne cruelty and neglect. These faces were clearly describing about the lives of children, those who gone through extreme cruelty and neglect. These faces would have been handsome, but were darkened with the scowl of sullen, dogged suffering. Which means these faces would have been handsome if we gave them enough food and care. But unfortunately, it was darkened because of the angry expressions of suffering and bitter and gloomy in their life, or because of the continuous suffering. In other words, we can say that the cuteness of that all little faces vanished because of the continuous suffering. Mrs. Squeeze stood at the desk with a large basin of brimstone and treacle. Using an enormous wooden spoon, she served this to each boy, who glummed it down in one go under fear of punishment. In that dirty room, Mrs. Squeeze stood at the desk, and there was a large basin with full of that medicinal syrup which they gave to those children. That medicinal syrup was tasting very hell, and it reduced the appetite of those children. Using a big wooden spoon, she served this to all the boys. They drank that in a one go because their hearts are under the fear of punishment. After everyone had been trickled, Smike shuffled out with the basin. After giving to each and every child of that room with that dull tasted syrup. Smike walked out with slow and dragging footsteps with that basin. A not enough breakfast followed. It was the comparison of small bowls of brown porridge eaten with a minute wedge of bread. After giving that syrup to all children, a not enough breakfast, which means little breakfast, they all got. That was the comparison of small bowl of brown porridge, which we want to eat with a minute small pieces of bread. Our Nicholas also had the same, along with a slice of bread and butter given to him by virtue of his position as a teacher. Except the children, Nicholas got slices of bread and butter by respecting his position as a teacher. This is the end of page number 81. The rest of the chapter we will see in the next class. Dear students, please go through the chapter and find out the difficult words. Write that in your copy. Thank you.